Hey, this is Mike with AskTractorMike.com. We're talking about safety switches on tractors, and I asked a friend of mine who used to be a service manager at a dealership how many calls he got from new tractor owners, mostly compact tractor owners, that their tractor wouldn't start that were safety switch related, and he said about 98%. So a lot of times if your tractor's not running, especially on a new tractor, it's going to be a safety device that's keeping it from running. Now, when I started this series, I kind of thought all tractors were configured kind of the same way, and I've been around to a lot of different dealerships selling a lot of different brands, and I'm finding out there's Republican tractors and there's Democratic tractors. There's Republican tractors that think the government ought to be out of your life and that you ought to be able to do whatever you want to around the tractor, that don't have as many safety devices and don't die as much when you get off the seat or when you engage a PTO and different things like that. And then there's Democratic tractors that kind of feel like it's the government's responsibility to take care of you, and they tend to die when you do something like get out of the seat with a PTO running. So all of the configurations are different. The important thing for you to remember, if your tractor's running and you got it in a shed or someplace that's clean, find your safety switches, and then if you have a problem with it dying in the field on a hot summer day in head-high grass, you at least know where to look so you're not poking around on the tractor. And once you find them and kind of see how they work, then it's a lot easier to replace them or find a problem if your tractor won't start. Now this John Deere tractor right here, it has a safety switch in the seat, and we're talking about seat safety switches today. It has a little safety switch built into the seat. You could start this tractor with it in neutral and not be in the seat. As long as it's in neutral and the PTO is off, you can start it. Now, a lot of tractors, if you're not sitting on that seat, you're not going to start it. And some tractors, you can start them, engage the PTO, and get off, and everything continues to run. So all the tractors are all over the board, and the important thing to take away from this series is find your safety switches so you know exactly what your tractor needs. And so if there's a day when it won't start, you'll know how to maybe get it back in the field. Talk today just briefly about seat switches and a couple of little things on seat switches. Seat switches a lot of times are the culprit when the tractor won't run. I have on my tractor a problem when I carry anything in back of the seat like a chainsaw and it drops down. It keeps the seat from going back down on the switch, and that'll make the tractor die. If you're driving across a bumpy field and you have one of these safety switches that kills the tractor when you're in gear, and you don't have your seat belt fastened and you're kind of bouncing up and down, the tractor will die. You'll fall down, it'll go, it'll stop, it'll go, it'll stop. So if you're having that problem, it's the seat switch, and there's a couple of things you can do to remedy that. It's kind of a difficult problem. First off, if you've got one of those seats that adjust to your weight, and there's a few of the more deluxe tractors that have a crank underneath the seat that adjusts for your weight. If your tractor is dying sporadically as you go across the field because of your seat safety switch, let that thing off a little bit to let you come down a little bit further. What that crank does, it adjusts spring tension on a couple, maybe 3 springs underneath that seat, and if it's adjusted too tight, you won't come down to hit that seat safety switch. So that's one thing you can do. If you don't have that, and the majority of tractors don't have that crank, about the best advice I can give you is try to crank your seat belt down as tight as you can and then latch it. And of course, if you've got retractable seat belts, that may not work, but if you've got a fixed seat belt, you can crank that thing down and it'll keep you from bouncing up and down and the tractor sporadically dying. Now, one other thing I'll tell you, if you have a tractor that won't start at all unless you're in the seat, if you unplug that safety switch before you leave it for an extended period of time, let's say you're storing the tractor in an outbuilding away from where you live or at your place and you're going to be gone for a week on vacation, if you've got one of those tractors that you have to be in the seat to start it, regardless of whether brake or the neutral or PTO or anything, you have to be in that seat to start it. If you'll unplug that safety switch before you leave, a thief will get on it and not be able to start it and maybe think there's something wrong with the tractor and move on. I got that tip from a viewer. Doesn't work on all tractors. This tractor here would actually start with a safety switch unplugged, but when you put it in gear, it would die, and that any thief with any brains would know that's what the problem is. Plug it back in and off you go with your tractor. So that's something to think about too. Again, there are a lot of different seat safety devices. There are some that are built into the seat that the entire seat has to be replaced if they fail. There are a lot of them that are built into the seat that are replaceable. There's some that are a button right underneath the seat. The disadvantage of this design, and this is what I have on my tractor, is if you leave your seat tilted forward to keep moisture from going into the seat, you're opening that safety switch up to get water in it, and water and safety switches don't get along very good. A lot of tractors have a little lever, and this is kind of a nice design because you're not having a switch that's pointed up to where the water is that can get moisture in it. It's pointed sideways, so it's less likely to get water. But there's a lot of different safety seat designs, and that's the first place to look. If for some reason your tractor won't start, look at that seat switch. Make sure there's nothing underneath the seat that's keeping it from coming down. Make sure everything's adjusted right. That could be your problem. Hey, I survive on web traffic. I appreciate you watching my videos, and I'd be honored if you'd subscribe to my YouTube channel and share this video with other tractor enthusiasts. And if you have questions or comments, put them below. We'll try to answer them. Hey, thanks for watching.